facing the domineering wedding disruption by the chosen protagonist. You casually shattered your fiancé's skull with a backhand slap. Even the protagonist blessed by heaven's mandate had his neck snapped. For you are none other than the supreme holy son of an eternal imperial clan from the upper realm, whose wedding night was disrupted by this so-called chosen one. Your fiancé even declared she'd rather die than marry you. Hearing this, you didn't get angry but laughed instead. This was funnier than seeing Granny climb into bed. At this moment, a radiant woman in phoenix-embroidered wedding robes, her waterfall-like hair cascading down, pressed a spiritual sword against her own neck, her eyes fixed fiercely on the young man atop the ceremonial platform, filled with unshakable determination. Chen Junlin, I've never loved you. My heart belongs only to brother Yi Chen. Today, even if I Su Yao or must die, I will never marry you. Witnessing this scene, the Dao sect experts ready to restrain the maiden, and all the wedding guests dared not act recklessly. They could only look up at that peerless figure on the platform. One was Su Yao's beloved, Yi Chen, the heaven-favored genius who rose like a comet, with numerous powerful backers supporting him. One is the sacred son of the Dao sect who descended from the upper realm with extraordinary status. Regardless of which side, they are unwilling to provoke either. What puzzles everyone is, this sacred son of the Dao sect, who should have been furious about the wedding interruption, is instead sitting there with his eyes closed in meditation, showing no reaction for a long time. A moment later, the sacred son of the Dao sect slowly opened his eyes. They were eyes as profound as the starry sky, as if containing the infinite secrets of the universe. Chen Junlin frowned slightly, digesting part of his transmigration memories. He had actually transmigrated to a fantasy world. Moreover, he was born into the immortal Chen clan from the upper realm, possessing supreme bone, as one of the sacred sons of the immortal Chen clan, with future prospects to compete for the supreme position of clan heir as a peerless genius. Suddenly, an angry roar interrupted his thoughts. Chen Junlin, if you're a real man, let Yue Yao go. Let's compete one-on-one fairly. Chen Junlin glanced lightly at the black-robed youth currently battling with the Waiadeo sect experts. Countless memory fragments about this person surfaced in his mind. Yi Chen, originally just a young master from a declining minor family in the mortal realm, yet through formidable luck and fortune, and various unimaginable opportunities, he step-by-step transformed from an insignificant ant into someone capable of rivaling the top sect elders of the lower realm. Son of fortune. Chen Junlin couldn't help but associate this term. The other's background and experiences, paired with such a distinctive name as Yi Chen, perfectly matched the growth template of those fated protagonists in novels. Chen Junlin, if you dare lay a hand on brother Yi Chen, I'll kill myself right now. Su Yue Yao gritted her pearly teeth and threatened, her eyes faintly revealing a trace of worry. She clearly understood that as a prodigy from the upper realm, Chen Junlin's strength was no ordinary matter. If he were to get serious, Yi Chen might not be able to cope even with hidden cards. Fortunately, Chen Junlin usually treasured her like a jewel, indulging her no matter how she hit, scolded, or mocked him. So as long as she spoke up, brother Yi Chen would surely be safe today. From now onward, his physical body's strength was essentially improving at all times. At the same time, through the Chaos Bell, Chen Junlin automatically obtained a supreme cultivation method, Zhou Tian Star Art, and it began to operate on its own. This cultivation method once again deeply shocked Chen Junlin. Ordinary cultivation methods involve opening up a Dantian Qi Si, then foundation establishment, opening a spiritual platform, forging a Dao palace. But this cultivation method directly opens up a maximum of 360 starseeds within the body and then uses the starseeds to replace the Dantian Qi Si without even considering other bonuses. This is equivalent to having more than 300 times the foundational resources compared to others. Not only that, through the Zhoutian Star Art, he could also harmonize with the Chaos Bell to arrange an earth-shattering Zhoutian star formation, making it as easy as eating and drinking to kill enemies beyond his level. In that instant, Chen Junlin's original Dantian Qi Si actually rapidly transformed into a starseed, its area increasing by more than 1,000 times compared to before. His original Dao Palace, which was 80,000 zhang in size, actually appeared like an insignificant asteroid within this starseed. It must be known that throughout the upper realm, the limit for a cultivator's Dao Palace height is only 100,000 zhang, because that is the carrying limit of the Qi Si Dantian. Imagine that. Just how shocking his starseed, transformed by the Zhou Tianxing Shenju, truly was. Chen Junlin also noticed that this Dao Palace he had already opened was actually increasing in size at a slow pace under the operation of the Zhou Tianxing Shenju. My cultivation is already at the limit of the Dao Palace realm, yet I can still continue to enhance my Dao Palace. Under normal circumstances, a cultivator's Dao Palace is already forged and finalized at the moment of stepping into the Dao Palace realm, determining the cultivator's future achievements and potential. There is simply no way to improve or change it further. If such an unbelievable scene were to spread out, it would likely instantly overturn the understanding of all cultivators in the upper realm. What level of treasure is that? How terrifying! An Apex Emperor artifact. No even complete Supreme Tao Emperor weapons from the ancient times can't compare even by half a hair. Could it be a celestial artifact? But even the few celestial artifacts I've encountered before are clearly not as powerful as this treasure. As the spirit of the illusion moon sword, an ancient divine sword, she had witnessed supreme celestial artifacts in the ancient times and felt their mighty divine power. Yet, she was still terrified by the aura emanating from the chaos bell. Before this mysterious giant bell, it felt as if her wisp of eternal spirituality was about to be suppressed and erased. Its grade and power clearly exceeded her knowledge and imagination. She really couldn't imagine what the true identity of this new master was, that he could possess such a terrifying treasure. If he were merely a holy son of a longevity family, it would be impossible for him to come into contact with such an existence. And at this very moment, under the terrifying aura of the Chaos Bell, the master of the Boundless Tao sect and the surrounding cultivators were so frightened that they prostrated on the ground, tremblingly looking up at this supreme holy son from the upper realm, their hearts filled with fear and dread. Too powerful, too terrifying. They never expected that the Holy Son was not only powerful beyond belief, possessing incredible divine abilities, but also possessed such a heaven-defying treasure. At the instant that the Xianuang giant bell appeared just now, their bodies and souls were completely suppressed and unable to move. They almost thought they were about to meet King Yama. Before, after witnessing the monstrous talent of Yi Chen, they thought that the other party might have a chance to challenge the immortal Dao lineage of the upper realm in the future. But now, after witnessing the strength and foundation of this holy son, Chen Junlin, they completely understood everything was just their laughable fantasy. The foundation of the upper realm's immortal Dao lineage is simply beyond the imagination of these lower realm sects and forces. This was a world of difference, a chasm that could never be bridged. Silence. As Chen Junlin quietly comprehended the wondrous enhancements brought about by the Zhou Tian star art, the entire wedding venue once again fell silent. No one dared to say half a word. Just like that, not knowing how long had passed, he swallowed hard several times. After waiting silently for a long time without receiving a response from Chen Junlin, the sect leader of the Boundless Tao sect finally mustered his courage and took the initiative to speak. As Saint's son, the upper realm Saint Refining Palace may already know about Ouyang Quanfeng's fall. What should we do next? Chapter 12, How to deal with the immortal Dao lineages of the upper realm. Annihilate them all, of course. At this moment, the sect master of the Boundless Tao sect held his breath directly. His heart was extremely tense, and beads of sweat the size of soybeans were constantly seeping from his forehead. To be honest, it took unprecedented courage for him to take the initiative and ask Chen Junlin these words. After all, he had personally witnessed the methods of this saint's son from the upper realm, Chen Junlin, just now. No one could guarantee that Chen Junlin wouldn't, in a moment of displeasure, casually wipe out their Boundless Tao sect. However, even though he knew there was a risk, he could only bite the bullet and proceed. There was no other way. Who asked the Boundless Tao sect to be like insignificant ants in front of behemoths like the Chun family of the upper realm and the Saint Refining Palace of the upper realm? Today, because of the grand wedding of the saint's son from the upper realm, Chen Junlin, many forces came to attend the wedding banquet to offer their congratulations, and such a major event has occurred in the Boundless Tao sect. It will probably spread throughout the entire cultivation world very quickly. It's simply impossible to hide it. In particular, disciples from the Saint Refining Palace and the Medicine King Valley, these forces with upper realm lineages, actually died in the Boundless Tao sect. It is conceivable how furious and crazy the Saint Refining Palace and these other powerful forces will be once they find out. Chen Junlin, as the holy son of the Changsheng Chen family from the upper realm, naturally doesn't need to worry about any danger with the Changsheng lineage backing him. However, their Ya Dao sect is different. Looking at the entire lower realm, the Ya Dao sect might be considered a top-tier sect, a supreme first-class immortal sect in the eyes of countless mortals. But compared to those Changsheng lineages in the upper realm, they are simply ants that can be crushed at will, completely insignificant. If those Changsheng lineages in the upper realm didn't lack interest in the power of the lower realm, how could a force like their Ya Dao sect possibly be able to lord over the lower realm? Taking the lower realm's holy refining palace as an example, although its apparent prestige is not as good as the Ya Dao sect, its actual foundation far exceeds that of the Ya Dao sect. However, the goal pursued by all cultivators in the Holy Refining Palace is to enter the upper realm's orthodox Holy Refining Palace. They are basically uninterested in fighting for power and profit in the lower realm, which is why they have always been in a semi-secluded state. But if the other party really wanted to seize the hegemonic power of the lower realm sects, randomly sending a group of upper realm powerhouses would probably be enough to sweep across the entire Boundless Tao sect. And the most crucial point is, besides the behemoth that is the Saint Refining Palace, there are also powerful figures from forces that have been annihilated, whose backing forces similarly possess upper realm lineages. Although they are not as terrifying as the eternal lineages, they are enough to bring about the destruction of the boundless Tao sect in an instant. Suddenly, they were forced to provoke so many great enemies. This time, their boundless Tao sect can be said to be on the verge of destruction at any moment, faced with such a precarious situation. At this moment, the sect master of the boundless Tao sect could only swallow this bitter pill with resignation in his heart. Clearly, he initially only wanted to climb onto the high branch of Chen Junlin, the saint child of an eternal lineage from the upper realm, so as to take the boundless Tao sect to the next level. Clearly, everything was fine before Yi Chen's bride snatching. They only needed to hold a grand and glorious wedding for the Holy Son, serve him comfortably, and the boundless Tao sect would receive unimaginable benefits in the future. But how did it turn into the most severe crisis in the sect's history? Frustration. Resignation. The boundless Tao sect had too much suffering in their hearts, yet they couldn't express it at all. Now, he could only pray that this holy son of the Chun family, seeing how diligently he had worked, would choose to intervene and protect the boundless Tao sect. The reason he dared to ask Chen Junlin about how to deal with forces like the Holy Refining Palace was actually a subtle way of trying to find out if this holy son would choose to protect them. Oh, Chen Junlin raised an eyebrow, casting a meaningful glance at the sect leader of the boundless Tao sect. He could naturally guess the true intention behind this fellow's question. Wasn't it just fear of the Saint Refining Palace's subsequent revenge, wanting to rely on him to protect them? To be honest, for a long-lived family, a lower realm force like the boundless Tao sect was truly of little use. The previous himself only condescended to descend upon the boundless Tao sect because the Su family was within its jurisdiction, and he would definitely return to the upper realm next, focusing on development in the upper realm, and would basically not pay too much attention to the lower realm. As for whether to save this boundless Tao sect or not, it was all the same to him. Except, if another protagonist blessed by destiny and luck similar to Yi Chen were to appear in the lower realm in the future and he had no way to detect it in time, allowing the protagonist of destiny and luck to develop, then it would be a bit troublesome. Although the strength of this boundless Tao sect's master was not that great, fortunately he was quite obedient, and he did need some manpower in the lower realm to monitor potential protagonists of destiny and luck at any time. Thus, he pondered for a moment. Chen Junlin decided to spare the boundless Tao sect for the time being. As a dignified villain, he couldn't possibly do everything himself, could he? With this in mind, looking at the boundless Tao sect master kneeling before him, as well as the other cultivators from various forces who were anxiously awaiting his response, Chen Junlin couldn't help but nod slightly, a cold and sharp smile creeping onto the corner of his lips. How to resolve it? Could it be that what I said wasn't clear enough? Of course, it's leave not a single one alive. Kill. No. Pardon. Rumble. The moment Chen Junlin's word kill landed, the entire surrounding void seemed to tremble, and a chilling aura of death quickly enveloped all the cultivators of the boundless Tao sect. Upon hearing this, the boundless Tao sect master couldn't help but gasp several times, his whole body shivering. Heavens! Not a single one left alive. Kill without pardon. The Holy Son's intention is to uproot the entire Saint Refinement Palace, Medicine King Valley, and other forces in the lower realm. This is too frightening. After understanding Chen Junlin's intentions, even the sect leader of the boundless Tao sect was greatly shocked. He never expected Chen Junlin to be so domineering and forceful. His best plan just now was actually for Chen Junlin to publicly announce that the boundless Tao sect would be incorporated into the Changxing Chen family's affiliated forces. This would serve as a warning, and the boundless Tao sect would not face the crisis of collapse. But, unexpectedly, as if stirring up enough trouble wasn't enough, Chen Junlin, after annihilating a large number of cultivators from factions friendly with Yi Chen and killing the upper realm elder of the Saint Palace and the current valley master of Medicine King Valley, actually planned to eradicate the foundations of the Saint Palace and Medicine King Valley in the lower realm as well. Heavens! Can we even play properly? What difficulty mode is His Holiness trying to make us challenge? Chapter 13 Subduing Servants. Group Aura, Divine Gift. If we really do this, then wouldn't the Saint Refinement Palace from the upper realm completely tear off all pretense of civility? Even if the boundless Tao sect becomes an affiliated force of the Changxing Chen family, I'm afraid it still wouldn't be able to protect itself. It's over. It's all over. In this instant, the boundless Tao sect master felt as if the entire sky was about to collapse. The expression on his face turned ashen, and tears almost welled up in his eyes. What? You're backing down already? Scared? Chen Junlin sized up the sovereign of the boundless Tao sect with a seemingly smiling expression, and slowly asked, if one wants to work under Chen Junlin, they must have the courage to fear nothing. If this boundless Tao sect dares not fight, then he would not mind destroying them as well. At worst, he would spend a little more effort to nurture another force. He, Chen Junlin, would not recruit a group of cowardly trash. Aye. At this moment, the sect master of the boundless Tao sect was covered in sweat, his entire robe soaked through. Kneeling on the ground, his body trembled incessantly, completely devoid of his former imposing manner as a sect master of the Immortal Gate. Having climbed to this position step by step, he was naturally no fool. Chen Junlin's meaning was clear. He was giving him a choice. If he wanted to follow Chen Junlin and enjoy the protection of the Chen family, then the boundless Dao sect would have to fight to the death, unafraid of any enemy suppression or retaliation. Otherwise, the best outcome for the boundless Dao sect today would probably be to fend for itself. And the worst case scenario, perhaps, if he dared to refuse, this decisive holy sun would immediately raise the boundless Dao sect to the ground. Seemingly with room for choice, in reality, there was only one path to survival. In this fleeting moment, the sect master of the boundless Dao sect used all the wisdom of his life, conjuring up many speculations in his mind. Until the sweat and blood on his body mixed together and dripped onto the ground, he suddenly shuddered violently, sobering up. Then, in an extremely firm tone, he said, "The boundless Dao sect is willing to follow the holy sun to the death, obeying his orders. We will go through fire and water without hesitation. No choice." He had just witnessed how terrifying the killing intent of this holy sun was. How could he dare to disobey his decision? Even if Chen Junlin were willing to let him off, if he relied solely on the foundations of the boundless Dao sect without the support of the Chen family, it would probably be destroyed next. In short, from the moment Chen Junlin chose to kill the elder of the Holy Palace today, the boundless Dao sect actually had no choice but to follow this holy sun to the very end. Now, he could only hope that the Changsheng Chen family could crush the upper realm's holy refining palace and be able to withstand the wrath of destroying the other party's lower realm inheritance. To be fair, after making this choice completely, the sect master of the boundless Dao sect seemed to have unloaded all the burdens on his body, and his originally tense mind gradually relaxed. No matter what the future holds, at least at this moment, their boundless Dao sect can be considered to have truly aligned themselves with the towering tree that is the Chen family. Yes, you are very clever. And very sensible. Seeing the sect master of the boundless Dao sect make a choice so quickly, Chen Junlin nodded with a smile, accepting the boundless Dao sect as a lower realm force. When raising a dog, of course, the more obedient the better, the smarter the better. What about you? Chen Junlin then gradually looked at the group of cultivators next to him. These cultivators were all guests from various sects and family forces who came to attend the wedding banquet. To be qualified to attend this level of wedding banquet, their background forces naturally had some foundation. Although Chen Junlin didn't care about the power behind these guests, now that they were here, they had to express their position, right? Thump! In an instant. Then, a clever person made a choice, directly kneeling on the ground and kowtowing, saying, "If the Holy Sun doesn't mind, I, Zhong Tianba, am willing to lead the Ironhan sect to pledge allegiance to the death. We will brave fire and water, duty bound. A stone stirs up 1,000 waves. Where someone takes the lead, naturally others will follow." Thump! 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 Cultivators fell to their knees one after another, expressing their loyalty to Chen Junlin and vowing eternal servitude, either directly leading the entire sect on the spot to join Chen Junlin's banner, or expressing willingness to be a guide, respectfully inviting Holy Sun to help purge the sect. In short, not a single cultivator present dared to defy Chen Junlin. Everyone behaved very obediently and sensibly. It was at the very moment Chen Junlin subdued everyone. Ding! Congratulations, Master, for subduing 10,000 or more followers with a strong posture, causing all to submit. Obtained the group aura Divine Grace. Divine Grace, all servants belonging to the Master will be forced to have 100% loyalty and contribute the power of faith to the Master. As a reward for pledging allegiance to the Master's servants will unconditionally receive a 10-fold increase in cultivation speed and a 10-fold increase in combat power. The Master enjoys a double bonus for this effect. Oh, unexpectedly triggered another system authority reward. Chen Junlin felt a burst of joy in his heart. The effect of this group halo was not bad. In addition to ensuring that his servants were absolutely loyal to him, it also prevented his servants from being too weak, making it easier for them to work for him in the future. In addition, from the first moment he obtained the Divine Grace Halo, Chen Junlin discovered that he had gained a special power out of thin air, and this special power was constantly being transmitted from the cultivators present to him. Invisible and intangible, yet truly existent. Is this the power of faith? Like the power of stars, it can also temper my physical body and soul. Chen Junlin was secretly amazed. Under the shroud of this special power, he could clearly feel a faint golden glow illuminating his entire body. It looked somewhat similar to the legendary Taoist practice of tempering the golden body. Very good. Rise, all of you. As long as you serve me well, you will naturally not be without your rewards, Chen Junlin said softly. Perhaps it was because of the system's reward, but he was in a rather good mood. His tone at the moment was very gentle, and a sunny and radiant smile appeared on his handsome face, completely unlike the decisive upper realm Holy Sun from just moments ago. But the sect master of the boundless Dao sect and the other cultivators still didn't dare to relax in the slightest. Each of them respectfully expressed their willingness to give everything for the Holy Sun. and they themselves were completely unaware that, without knowing when, their inner feelings toward Qin Junlin had quietly shifted from the initial simple awe and fear to absolute faith, with no more ulterior motives. This kind of undetectable method could not help but amaze Qin Junlin. Even the top enslavement methods in the upper realm were far inferior. Time is of the essence. Everyone, please follow me to the Holy Refining Palace. Qin Junlin grinned and directly issued the instructions. The Saint Refining Palace, having provoked them completely, there's no reason to let it remain. Since it is to be destroyed, then naturally, it must be destroyed thoroughly and decisively. It's impossible to be like the villains in some novels who, despite having a huge advantage, foolishly give their opponents opportunities. Yes, we, your subordinates, respectfully obey the orders of the Holy Sun. Chapter 14, Leveling the Holy Refining Palace, Forging the Supreme Holy Spirit Starfire Divine Phoenix. 2 days later, Hala Palace Headquarters. Outside a magnificent grand hall. Replying to the Holy Sun, we are fortunate not to disgrace our mission. We have completely annihilated all the remaining members of the Sacred Palace. Inside here are all the spoils of war from the annihilation of the Saint Refinement Palace. Please take a look, Holy Sun. At this moment, the sect master of the Boundless Tao sect was holding a red gem ring with both hands, kneeling respectfully and devoutly outside the grand hall to report back to Qin Junlin, his face beaming with joy, as if he were a victorious general. Unexpected. The smoothness of this attack on the Saint Refining Palace was completely beyond his expectations. Originally, the sect master of the Boundless Tao sect had thought that he would experience a bitter battle, even paying a huge price in casualties. But he never expected that the legendary Saint Refining Palace would shatter at the first touch. The experts of the same realm that he encountered could not last long in his hands at all. This Saint Refining Palace, which clearly possessed the inheritance of the upper realm's eternal life Tao, after using various trump cards and even activating the terrifying sect protecting formation, was completely unable to withstand the offensive of the Boundless Tao sect. Excluding the time spent on the road, it only took them less than half a day. They actually flattened the Saint Refining Palace. This was simply like a dream, hard to believe. The people of the Saint Refinement Palace seemed a little too weak. Is this the level of the so-called upper realm longevity Taoist lineage? This was undoubtedly the thought in the minds of all the elders and disciples of the Boundless Tao sect at the beginning of the battle. But soon, everyone completely realized what was happening. No, it's not that the people of the Saint Refinement Palace are too weak, but the overall combat power of all of them had suddenly become several times stronger for some unknown reason. They clearly hadn't done anything, nor had they cultivated any new divine abilities or techniques, yet their own combat power had inexplicably increased, far exceeding that of normal cultivators in the same realm. Unfathomable. Almost all the cultivators who had submitted to Qin Junlin were completely unable to understand this bizarre situation. But everyone secretly guessed that this must be related to Qin Junlin, the Holy Sun from the upper realm. Because apart from being in contact with the Holy Sun, they had no other opportunities during this period. This must be some heaven-defying enhancement power that the Holy Sun has used, allowing all of them to explode with combat power far beyond the ordinary in silence. At the beginning, they were a little worried whether this explosion was overdrawing their potential and whether it would cause them some irreversible hidden damage. However, after some observation, they discovered that not only had they not suffered any overdraft damage, but their recovery ability was even more exaggerated than before. The most outrageous thing is that they found that when they were absorbing the vitality of heaven and earth for cultivation, it seemed to be more efficient and higher than before. Outrageous. It's just too outrageous. What kind of shocking great power does the Holy Sun possess? And that's it. The faith in Qin Junlin in the depths of the hearts of all the monks who surrendered to Qin Junlin directly reached a level close to madness. It is no exaggeration to say that even if they were asked to die for Qin Junlin, they would definitely not hesitate at all. What others were thinking, the sect leader of the Boundless Tao sect did not know, but at least he, at this moment, had completely developed an extremely fanatical faith in Qin Junlin, this Holy Sun. He was increasingly grateful for how wise his choice had been. So what if he offended the eternal life Tao lineage of the upper realm? This heaven-defying buffing divine power of the Holy Sun alone was enough to make him risk his life, going through fire and water for it. Not to mention that the Holy Sun himself was in existence with cultivation reaching the heavens. The fact that he was qualified to follow him was simply like his ancestral grave emitting green smoke. With an excited and thrilled heart, for a time, the sect leader of the Boundless Tao sect, kneeling at the entrance of the main hall, recalled the various experiences of the past few days in his mind. The more he recalled, the more fanatical his faith in Qin Junlin became. A moment later, a faint voice finally came from inside the main hall. Well, very good. This time, you have done well. Swish. Immediately following, an immensely powerful force, accompanied by a streak of scarlet light, instantly surged from the main hall. It gently pushed open the doors, then enveloped the storage ring in the Waiadeo sect master's hand, before swiftly returning into the hall. At this very moment, inside the main hall, Qin Junlin was in an extremely peculiar state. His body was surrounded by strands of terrifying heaven and earth strange fire, as if he were immersed in a sea of flames. At the same time, above his head, countless dazzling starlight phenomena flickered like a brilliant night sky, under the combined effect of the strange fire and starlight. Faintly, it seemed as if a phoenix phantom, radiating starlight all over its body, was condensing within the fire. Waves of incomparably powerful spiritual energy emanated from the phoenix phantom, constantly filling the entire main hall. Like ripples on water, one wave surged over another. The domineering power was as if it would melt and shatter the entire void. If the sect leader of the Boundless Tao sect were to enter this hall, even if they were a great power at the peak of the Dharma appearance realm, they would instantly be torn apart by the terrifying power of this wisp of a phoenix phantom. Such a shocking scene was actually Chen Junlin breaking through, preparing to shatter the shackles of the Tao Palace realm and step into the sacred spirit realm in one fell swoop. The phoenix phantom formed from starlight and flames before him is precisely the sacred spirit he is about to forge. Once successfully condensed, it would mean that he had entered the sacred spirit realm. In the past 2 days, because the eternal sacred fire body had devoured and refined a large amount of heaven and earth's strange fires, it had already allowed him to touch the threshold of the sacred spirit realm. Coupled with the heaven-defying effects of the Chaos Bell and the Jotian star chart, Chen Junlin was automatically absorbing the power of the stars for cultivation at all times to the point that he hadn't even actively cultivated, yet he was naturally on the verge of breaking through. The Jotian star codex is an unparalleled cultivation method. It requires the cultivator to open up 360 starseeds within the body, each comparable to a Dantian Chi Si. This will grant the cultivator a profound foundation and combat power that ordinary practitioners can only dream of. However, although the 360 starseeds can provide a terrifying increase in combat power, the resources required to break through the bottleneck are naturally enormous. Under normal circumstances, the power of the heaven and earth strange flames that Chen Junlin had previously devoured would have been enough to satisfy the energy needs of tens of thousands of Tao Palace realm breakthroughs. However, this was still far from enough for Chen Junlin, who had cultivated the Jotian Star Codex. Thus, Chen Junlin unhesitatingly refined all the natural treasures and spirit stones he possessed in his storage ring. However, he was still a tiny bit away from condensing the sacred spirit. But these spoils of war from annihilating the holy refining palace came just in time. Everything just right. Looking at the ruby storage ring in the void before him, a smile couldn't help but appear on Chen Junlin's handsome face. Perhaps it was due to devouring the fortune of Yi Chen, the protagonist blessed by destiny, but his luck had been pretty good lately. Therefore, come out. Starfire Divine Phoenix. Chapter 15, Mocking Fate. Limitless Sacred Spirit. No, Infinite Sacred Spirit. Rumble. As soon as he finished speaking, with a thought, Chen Junlin forcefully melted the ruby storage ring before him. One by one, precious natural treasures and spirit stones immediately emerged, but in the blink of an eye, they were refined by the starlight and strange fire within the hall. It must be admitted that as a legacy power of the upper realm's eternal lineage, the foundation of this sacred refining palace is indeed astonishing, even astonishing Chen Junlin, an upper realm eternal saint's son. If measured by value, the resources of this entire sacred refining palace added up are actually comparable to his family fortune when he first descended to the lower realm. Good heavens! As expected of a lineage of eternal life in the lower realm. Quite wealthy indeed. Chen Junlin couldn't help but sigh with emotion. He once thought that, in the eyes of the eternal life lineages in the upper realm, these inherited forces in the lower realm were not valued. Now it seems that things were not quite as he had expected. At the same time, an idea arose in his mind. Had he perhaps underestimated these lower realm forces with upper realm lineages? If he had the chance in the future, should he take a stroll through these forces? After all, he seemed to have the identity of a villain, didn't he? Collecting some protection fees should be quite reasonable, right? Buzz. While pondering secretly, Chen Junlin did not forget to condense and forge the Saint Spirit. With the massive resources of heavenly materials and earthly treasures from the Saint Refining Palace filling the need, it had completely satisfied Chen Junlin's final requirements for forging the Saint Spirit. Rumble. Buzz. 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 Under the urging of Chen Junlin's mental power, the Starfire Divine Phoenix Phantom within the endless sea of fire began to become increasingly clear and real. Its starlight feathers appeared lifelike, giving off a beautiful, dreamlike, and hazy feeling of starlight, while also containing the suffocating might of a flame emperor. At this moment, the flame temperature of the entire hall, along with the sacred spirit, the increasingly vivid Starfire Divine Phoenix, was also rapidly soaring, almost scorching the surrounding void to ashes. In an instant, the prototype of the sacred spirit Starfire Divine Phoenix was basically completed, leaving only the final step, awakening the spirit by dotting the eyes. And this is precisely the most difficult part for countless cultivators when breaking through the sacred spirit realm. The so-called awakening the spirit by dotting the eyes is to use one's own comprehension and understanding of Taoist techniques as ink, one's own mental power as a brush, and one's own Tao Palace as paper, to allow the sacred spirit to give birth to a wisp of grand Tao spirituality. The great Tao possesses sentience. The essence of this enlightenment by dotting the I's is akin to using one's own comprehension of Taoist principles to validate the spirit of the great Tao of heaven and earth that one seeks. Once the enlightenment by dotting the I's fails, unable to withstand the backlash of the great Tao's spirit from the constructed sacred spirit, the cultivator will either suffer a regression in cultivation or, in severe cases, the soul will be scattered and the spirit dispersed. Therefore, at this crucial moment, Chen Junlin's expression gradually turns solemn. Enlightenment by dotting the I's is not only the key to breaking through to the sacred spirit realm but also concerns the quality of the sacred spirit. If the dotting is not done well enough, it will lower the quality of the sacred spirit. Even if the sacred spirit you choose to forge is inherently strong, it will not be able to exert its true power. Conversely, if a divine stroke occurs in this most critical dotting stage, it can even defy fate, making a sacred spirit that would have been weak directly become stronger. This time, combining the cultivation technique Zhou Tian star chart with his own eternal sacred flame body, Chen Junlin conceived the Starfire Divine Phoenix, an unprecedented sacred spirit. This was already a fanciful attempt, something that had never appeared before him. Therefore, the enlightening gaze for this Starfire Divine Phoenix is particularly important, allowing for no mistakes. Chen Junlin took a deep breath, slowly gathered his thoughts, and focused all his attention on the Starfire Divine Phoenix. At this moment, the prototype of the Starfire Divine Phoenix was suspended there, continuously releasing wisps of starlight flames, looking sacred and powerful. Without further thought, Chen Junlin immediately activated the Zhou Tian star chart. The power of the stars was like a brilliant galaxy, surging through the hundreds of meridians in his body. At the same time, the heaven and earth strange fire, guided by the eternal sacred flame body, also burned to its peak. In that instant, the great Tao of stars and the great Tao of flames began to merge and mix, like hundreds of rivers flowing into the sea. Chen Junlin used the power of his mind as a brush, cautiously drawing upon the profound insights of these two Taos, and instilled them into the Starfire Divine Phoenix sacred spirit. Even though he had never cultivated the great Taos of stars and flames before. However, because he possessed the special talent of unparalleled Tao, his own comprehension of the Tao effortlessly reached the limit of this world. And after the integration of the star and flame great Tao laws, the Starfire Divine Phoenix actually began to slowly open its eyes, a trace of dazzling divine light instantly blooming, carrying with it the power of infinite Tao rhythm. Rumble! At this very moment, the entire world outside trembled violently, as if something terrifying had been born. Chen Junlin's entire mind, at the same moment, was suppressed by an incomparably powerful force of the great Tao. Because the quality of the Starfire Divine Phoenix was extremely high, the pressure from the spirit of the great Tao that he endured was naturally even more terrifying. If it were an ordinary Tao Palace realm cultivator, encountering such a shockingly powerful spirit of the great Tao pressure, their consciousness would probably be instantly obliterated, leading to their death and the dissipation of their Tao. This is the moment. Awakening! A flash of brilliance streaked through Chen Junlin's eyes. Completely ignoring the influence of the great Tao spirit's pressure, he vigorously integrated all his Tao insights into the sacred spirit, Starfire Divine Phoenix. Relying on the superposition of the eternal sacred fire body and the Zhou Tian star chart, he had full confidence in his heart. This time, he, Chen Junlin, would surely forge an unprecedented, unparalleled sacred spirit that would go down in history. But, just as Chen Junlin completed the final stroke of the awakening, ding! Master triggers a fate event awakening. Fate Event Soul Awakening Touch. The Master, with unparalleled talent and wisdom, and after some preparations, effortlessly created the world-shaking, unprecedented, and ultimate sacred spirit Starlight Divine Phoenix. This act is enough to shock the heavens and change the world's landscape, and it will leave a mark in the river of fate. You can choose any of the words to modify its destiny. Ha! This can also trigger a fate event. Chen Junlin was momentarily stunned. He now seemed to understand the rules for triggering fate events. It was likely something directly related to his own fate, or actions that could potentially have an indirect relationship to his fate. Thinking of this, looking at the string of words describing the fate event, a strange smile couldn't help but appear on the corner of Chen Junlin's mouth. Ha. Since that's the case, then he wouldn't stand on ceremony. Ding! Master has chosen to modify the extreme limit sacred spirit to the infinite sacred spirit. Chapter 16 Ancient and Modern Visions, not even qualified to compare. Ding! Congratulations, Master, you have successfully condensed an infinite saint spirit. The quality of this saint spirit is of the unlimited growth type, and it will permanently accompany the Master's strength increase without restriction. Rumble! In an instant, Chen Junlin clearly felt that the aura of this Starlight Divine Phoenix saint spirit he had created had once again skyrocketed. Its feathers were covered with endless starlight and flames, as if all the stars in the sky had evolved into suns. Strong. Very strong. Absurdly strong. After only a glance, Chen Junlin realized just how powerful his saint spirit was. This completely exceeded all the saint spirits he had ever encountered. Even in his memories, when he was 8 years old, the Chen family's old ancestor, who only made one move, released a saint spirit that was hailed as a top-tier emperor grade 8-star saint spirit, the violet-starred vermilion bird, which caused a sensation the moment it appeared, but the intensity of the aura it released was far inferior to even a trace of the Starfire Divine Phoenix. A saint spirit with unlimited growth. Not to mention emperor grade saint spirits, this is probably beyond even the legendary immortal grade saint spirits. Chen Junlin couldn't help but exclaim in amazement. The quality of a saint spirit represents its potential, and from low to high, it can be divided into mortal grade, earth grade, heaven grade, king grade, saint grade, emperor grade. Each major grade is further subdivided into 9 star levels, with 1 star being the weakest and 9 stars being the strongest. As for the so-called immortal grade saint spirits, almost no one has ever truly seen them. They are considered by countless cultivators to be the ultimate limit of saint spirit quality. From ancient times to the present, there have only been a handful of individuals who have condensed immortal grade saint spirits, and each of them was an unparalleled, invincible genius who dominated their era. Because within the cultivation world, there are even rumors that once someone condenses the ultimate immortal grade saint spirit, it means that this person possesses a 99% chance of becoming an immortal and will definitely ascend to immortality in the future. If that is the case, then let us do it in one fell swoop and prove the saint spirit. Excitement flickered in Chen Junlin's eyes. For a moment, a sense of immense pride rose in his heart, and he looked forward even more to dominating all the geniuses of the ages in the future. Anyway, since I've already transmigrated, what's wrong with being a little bit invincible? Buzz. Chen Junlin no longer hesitated and directly completed the final step of eye-opening enlightenment. The moment the eyes of the Starfire Divine Phoenix were completely lit up. Whoosh! The starlight and flames in the surrounding void seemed to freeze briefly, as if some supreme power was interfering with the flow of time. But, in the next second, the boundless divine might originating from the Starfire Divine Phoenix could no longer be suppressed. Rumble. As if transcending the very level of life itself. The Starfire Divine Phoenix, condensed by Chen Junlin, suddenly flapped its wings, raised its head, and spat out fierce flames, erupting with an aggressive and majestic aura. And his cultivation, in that instant, effortlessly broke through to the Saint Spirit realm. At the same time, outside of Chen Junlin's palace, within the 9 heavens and 10 earths, astonishing and shocking celestial phenomena appeared because of the limitless Saint Spirit Starfire Divine Phoenix. The entire starry sky was dyed crimson red, as if the firmament was being burned in a sea of fire. Not only that, but those heaven and earth phenomena that had appeared throughout the ages in the 9 heavens and 10 earths, such as the chaos giving birth to a green lotus, 10,000 miles of purple aura, an old Taoist riding a blue ox backwards, koi carp leaping over the dragon gate, etc. At this moment, all of them were continuously shattered and vaporized under this crimson starry sky and sea of fire. As if these heaven and earth phenomena that once caused a sensation in the 9 heavens and 10 earths did not even have the qualification to stand alongside this starry sky and sea of fire phenomenon. Unbelievable. Outrageous. It was just a moment. Countless ancient powerhouses within the 9 heavens and 10 earths were alarmed, all staring at this unparalleled heaven and earth phenomenon with faces full of disbelief, feeling greatly shocked in their hearts. Heavens! This what kind of heaven and earth phenomenon is this, that it can cause such terrifying movements? The 9 heavens and 10 earths are all enveloped within it. This even the birth of a chaotic body recorded in ancient history was not so earth-shattering. Unheard of, unseen. There is even a trace of unknown aura that makes this emperor's heart tremble. Investigate. Quickly investigate the origin of this phenomenon. Impossible, the celestial signs are obscure, making deduction impossible. Heavens, just now, the pavilion master of the Heavenly Secrets Pavilion suddenly announced the sealing of the mountain. Could it be because of this celestial phenomenon before our eyes? At this moment, faced with this strange celestial phenomenon that defied comprehension, within the great wilderness world, throughout the 9 heavens and 10 earths, all cultivation forces were thrown into turmoil. One by one, old monsters who had long stood at the pinnacle of the cultivation world could no longer remain seated, appearing one after another, seeking to find the root of this celestial phenomenon. Unfortunately, no one could deduce it, as if this was an unknown power they simply could not come into contact with. And the unknown often breeds fear. The upper realm, Chen family ancestral land. The Chen family head had long summoned all the Chen family elders, currently discussing the celestial phenomenon of the starry sky. From their solemn expressions, it was not difficult to surmise that this celestial phenomenon was enough to warrant the utmost attention from their long-standing Chen family. This celestial phenomenon, I fear yet another heaven-defying monstrous talent has been born. Indeed. Back then, when Haotian awakened the immortal king diagram, the celestial phenomena were already unparalleled in the world, yet they were still far inferior to this. If these celestial phenomena truly originate from a prodigy, then this would be a formidable rival for our Haotian. Alas! How wonderful it would be if such a prodigy were born within our Chen family. Haha, old 6, you're being too greedy. Your boy was born with supreme bones. What a monstrous talent. Are you still not satisfied? Don't mention it. That kid, for a woman from the lower realm, alas, it's a long story, he's basically ruined. I'm even thinking of starting a new character. Don't worry, nephew Junlin is still young, it's normal for him to be ignorant. He will eventually come to his senses. 16 years old and still young. That damn thing is driving me crazy, he's simply not worthy of being the Chen family's holy son. We might as well just expel him from the Chun family. Amidst a sigh, the Chen family members fell silent. Clearly, the Chen family was also well aware of the foolish things Chen Junlin had done. This time, the Chen family cut off Chen Junlin's cultivation resources and removed all his protectors. Although the family did not explicitly state that they would remove Chen Junlin as their holy son, it was clear that they were already considering giving up on cultivating him. Chen Junlin was born with supreme bones and was indeed the Chen family's pride, but if he didn't cherish his own potential and continued to indulge in a woman, he would definitely not be qualified to take on the heavy responsibilities of the Chen family. In comparison, Chen Haotian, who had awakened the Immortal King diagram not long ago, was undoubtedly the most shining star in the eyes of the Chen family. And at this moment, even Chen Junlin didn't expect that he had only condensed a mere limitless saint spirit, so how could he have frightened a group of longevity orthodoxy experts? Chapter 17, The Fury of the Saint Refining Palace, Palace Master Yu Huarong. At the same time, Saint Refining Palace, within the Upper Realm Longevity Ancestral Land. The elders of the Saint Refining Palace, as if they had encountered the most unforgivable and intolerable thing in the world, all showed expressions of anger and hatred on their faces, their eyes filled with monstrous killing intent. Who is it? Who actually destroyed the future Saint Master of my Saint Refining Palace, whom we painstakingly cultivated for countless years? The Palace Master of the Saint Refining Palace was a middle-aged woman with a stunning appearance. The traces of time not only did not diminish her beauty but also added a touch of mature charm to her. Normally, she spoke to everyone in a kind and gentle manner, giving people a very gentle and polite impression. She had a good reputation in the cultivation world, so many strong cultivators would give her some face. But at this moment, this Palace Master of the Saint Refining Palace looked like a Rakshasa from hell. The gentle image of the past was gone from her face, and instead, she looked like a primal chaos demon god about to erupt at any moment, wanting to destroy everything in the world. Because they, the Saint Refinement Palace, primarily cultivate fire attribute techniques, they excel at refining tools, pills, and talismans. This is why the sect's name contains the character refinement. Most importantly, the founder of the Saint Refinement Palace was an unparalleled great emperor who possessed a trace of ancient phoenix bloodline. It was precisely through that wisp of ancient phoenix bloodline power that the founder possessed the means to sweep across all the geniuses of her era. She became the most powerful great emperor of her time, establishing an eternal and undying lineage, the Saint Refinement Palace. Before ascending to immortality, this founder left behind a trace of her essence blood and instructed the inheritors of the Saint Refinement Palace to integrate this essence blood into unborn infants. Doing so would give them a chance to cultivate prodigies with the same phoenix bloodline power, thus ensuring that the Saint Refinement Palace would not decline due to a lack of talent. However, no one had anticipated just how formidable the great emperor's essence blood would be, let alone the fact that it also contained the power of the phoenix bloodline. Therefore, throughout countless years, almost no infant had been able to withstand the fusion of even a trace of essence blood power within the womb. However, the Saint Refinement Palace had never given up on trying, because in theory, there was indeed a chance of success. Moreover, this matter had been personally instructed by that old ancestor. He couldn't possibly be wrong, could he? They believed that it must be because the infant's innate talent and physique were not good enough, which was why they had difficulty succeeding in the fusion. And so, after one failure after another, in an unprecedented stroke of luck, a saintess of the Saint Refinement Palace suddenly became pregnant, and no one, including the saintess herself, knew whose child it was. The most outrageous thing was that the saintess's chastity mark was still intact. Such an abnormal event naturally attracted the attention of the elders of the Saint Refinement Palace. After discussing it, they believed that this must be the old ancestor manifesting his power and thus bestowing this opportunity. Therefore, the higher-ups of the Holy Refining Palace ultimately decided to integrate the essence blood of the Holy Refining Palace's ancestor into him. And the final result was both surprising and delightful. The delightful thing was that it really fused successfully. This was the first success in the Holy Refining Palace in countless years. The surprising thing was, this infant was far too bizarre. After being born, it was actually a scarlet bird egg containing a wisp of a phoenix totem, and its entire body was burning with endless flames. After this egg was just born, that saintess was completely burned and melted away by the endless flames it released. Such a strange scene. Naturally, it strongly shocked the higher-ups of the Saint Refinement Palace. Destroy it, or keep it. It became the choice that everyone struggled with. And in the end, this egg seemed to have sensed something and actually ignored the Saint Refining Palace's restrictions, taking the initiative to escape. Finally, after a great deal of effort to escape, it inexplicably descended into the Saint Refining Palace's inheritance ground in the lower realm. It's probably because the Saint Refining Palace's inheritance ground in the lower realm possesses a magma spring created by the founding patriarch of the Saint Refining Palace. This spring contains a trace of the origin of innate essence fire, making it an excellent place for tempering the physical body. And this egg, upon entering this lava spring, immediately quieted down, silently absorbing the innate essence fire to grow and hatch. Until the very end, the eggshell shattered, and she transformed into a baby girl, who was named Fengxian. Logically, the Holy Refining Palace should have taken her back to the upper realm to nurture her with utmost care. However, because the other party had once relied on instinct to actively choose the magma spring, it indicates that this magma spring has special effects on it. Perhaps it would be better to keep it in the lower realm for cultivation and might even activate the hidden phoenix bloodline power within its body. It was for this reason that Saint Refinement Palace allowed Fengxian to stay in the lower realm Saint Refinement Palace for cultivation, while also dispatching a soul transformation realm Supreme Elder, Ouyang Quanfeng, to secretly protect her. Under these circumstances, looking at the entire lower realm, it was simply impossible for anyone to threaten Fengxian. But, just recently, Supreme Elder Ouyang Quanfeng's life tablet shattered. Fengxian's life tablet shattered. Immediately following, before they could even react, the inheritance steel of the lower realm's Saint Refinement Palace exploded. The explosion of the inheritance steel also meant that the lower realm's inheritance lineage had completely ceased to exist. There was no longer a single disciple of the inherited lineage. Extermination. Someone actually had the audacity to carry out a massacre against their lower realm Saint Refinement Palace. The Saint Refinement Palace elders immediately reacted. Each and every one of them revealed a look of crazed killing intent. Palace Master, please allow me to immediately descend to the lower realm and swear to find that arrogant bastard, crush his bones, and scatter his ashes. I'm going to. Someone actually destroyed our Saint Refining Palace's lineage. We must not let them off lightly. Damn bastards. It would have been fine if the lower realm inheritance was destroyed, but that girl Fengxian was the painstaking effort our Saint Refining Palace worked so hard to nurture. Kill, kill, kill. No matter what their identity or background is, kill them all without mercy. At this moment, the many elders of the Saint Refining Palace were completely overwhelmed by anger, eager to take revenge immediately. As far as they were concerned, the destruction of the inheritance grounds in the lower realm was insignificant, because the Saint Refining Palace had long since transferred its core inheritance to the upper realm. The reason they still maintained the Saint Refining Palace in the lower realm was simply out of respect for it being the former residence of the founding patriarch. But Fengxian concerned the future of the Saint Refining Palace, concerned whether the Saint Refining Palace could maintain its status as a longevity Dao lineage. Destroying Fengxian meant shattering the hope of their Saint Refining Palace. Tell me, how could they let go of such hatred and enmity? Feeling the monstrous killing intent of the many elders present, Yu Huarong, the palace master of the Saint Refinement Palace, although equally eager to descend to the lower realm immediately as the palace master of a longevity Dao lineage, she had to force herself to calm down. She took a deep breath, barely suppressing the anger in her heart. She looked at the surrounding elders and sighed softly. Alas, elders, this palace master knows your eagerness for revenge. But how do you compare to the cultivation of Supreme Elder Ouyang? Chapter 18 Mysterious figure of the Saint Refinement Palace actually knows the truth. Whoosh! As soon as these words came out, the originally noisy hall immediately quieted down. The elders present all frowned slightly, with thoughtful expressions on their faces. Obviously, as old monsters, each of them was shrewd and could easily understand Yu Huarong's intention behind these words. Seeing this, Yu Huarong took a deep breath and spoke again, saying, Supreme Elder Ouyang possesses the cultivation of the peak of the primordial soul realm and also holds the supreme grade Dao weapon Nine Dragons Divine Fire Gourd. Even compared to a creation realm expert, his combat power is not much inferior. Even if he truly encounters a powerhouse at the creation realm level, with the assistance of the Nine Dragons Grand Formation from the Nine Dragon Divine Fire Gourd in a critical situation, he will definitely have a full chance to transmit the enemy's information back to the upper realm. Besides, if one were to ask who in the Holy Refining Palace loves Fengxian the most, it would undoubtedly be the Supreme Elder Ouyang, who has always acted as her protector, right? In such a situation, if there were a chance, do you think Supreme Elder Ouyang wouldn't even send us a message? Hiss. The entire hall once again fell silent. At this moment, the elders of the Holy Palace finally came to their senses. Given Elder Ouyang's cultivation and strength, even if he encountered a creation realm expert, he could at least transmit all the news of what happened in the lower realm back to the upper realm if he fought to the death. But in reality, the Saint Refining Palace in their upper realm didn't receive any message at all. The only thing that caught their attention was that the life tablets of Elder Ouyang and Fengxian were broken. What does this mean? It means that the enemy who killed Elder Ouyang was at least at the 7th level of the creation realm and must have been carrying an extremely powerful Dao weapon. Otherwise, it would be impossible to prevent a Supreme Elder with a peak asking Dao realm cultivation and carrying a top-grade Dao weapon from even sending back a message. So, Palace Master, are you saying that the one who intercepted Elder Ouyang and Feng Xian and destroyed our lower realm inheritance was no ordinary expert, but rather, a force with an eternal lineage is targeting our Saint Refining Palace? They knew the importance of Feng Xian to our Saint Refining Palace, so they spared no expense to send a creation realm expert to eliminate her. Damn it! Which power is so despicable and shameless? Is this really necessary? The demonic Azura sect, the Golden Longevity family, or the Myriad Weapon Pavilion? The many elders of the Saint Palace all wore grim expressions, their eyes filled with sharp, ruthless light, as they began to speculate which hostile force was most likely to have made a move. It's no wonder they speculated as such. Simply because, due to the restrictions of the Heavenly Dao's order, it is not easy for cultivators from the upper realm to travel to the lower realm, especially with higher cultivation levels facing greater limitations. Generally speaking, dispatching a soul transformation stage expert to the lower realm requires a significant amount of resources to open the gate between realms, enough to match the minimum resource revenue of a long-lived Taoist lineage for at least 3 years. If it's a creation realm expert wanting to descend, then the cost would be even more exaggerated. Even a long-lived Taoist lineage power must carefully consider such a huge cost of descending to the lower realm. Therefore, aside from irreconcilable enemies fueled by deep hatred, they couldn't understand who would be foolish enough to pay such a high price to suppress the Saint Refinement Palace. If the other party has indeed come prepared and is deliberately targeting my Saint Refinement Palace, then even if we go down to the lower realm now, I am afraid it will be too late. The Saint Refinement Palace Master replied with utmost composure. For a creation realm expert, erasing traces was simply too easy. At this point, even if they sent experts down to the lower realm, they would probably find it difficult to discover any clues. Then what should we do? Are we just going to let this go? One of the Saint Refinement Palace elders questioned, unwilling to accept the situation. After a moment of contemplation, Saint Refinement Palace Master Hua Yaron, a cold, sharp killing intent flashed in her eyes, but she shook her head and said, destroying the future foundation of my Saint Refinement Palace, of course, this matter cannot be left at that. Elder Qin, Elder Mo. You two shall immediately descend to the lower realm and proceed to the Saint Refining Palace for investigation. Pay close attention, be sure to exercise caution. No matter how long you stay, you only need to secretly investigate the situation clearly and send messages back at any time. Elder Bai, Elder Lu. As for the two of you, head to forces like the Demonic Fiend sect and the Golden Family of Longevity, discreetly sounding them out to see if these guys are the ones pulling the strings. If it really is them, even if it costs us everything, my Saint Refining Palace will fight them to the bitter end. Furthermore, the most important point, we must strictly monitor all the dimensional gates. Pay close attention to any cultivators recently descending to the lower realms or returning to the upper realms, regardless of their cultivation level or the power behind them. Although the probability is extremely low, and under normal circumstances, it's unlikely that someone would blatantly pass through a dimensional gate after doing something like this. These people might not play by the rules. So, they are equally worthy of suspicion. In short, no matter how difficult it is, no matter the cost, my Saint Refinement Palace will sooner or later find the real culprit. On the originally gentle and delicate face of Saint Refinement Palace Master Yu Huarong, a cold frost emerged, giving off an unapproachable aura. Yes, Palace Master. The elders of the Saint Refinement Palace nodded in agreement, clearly approving of Yu Huarong's decision. The other party's actions were too swift this time, showing that they had planned it long in advance, to the point that they couldn't react at all for now. The Saint Refinement Palace can only slowly investigate the matter. Just as Saint Refinement Palace Master Yu Huarong had arranged everything, unexpectedly, the next second, outside the main hall, a hurried figure rushed in without even announcing themselves. Palace Master, urgent news to report. It was Xiao Jingwen, the elder of the Saint Refinement Palace in charge of guarding the outer affairs. Seeing this, Elder Xiao, if you have something to say, take your time. Why are you in such a hurry? Didn't you see that we are discussing important matters? Yu Huarong spoke with a slightly dissatisfied and questioning tone. Because of Feng Xian's matter, she was in a bad mood and had been suppressing it. She didn't expect that Xiao Jingwen would actually run into the line of fire. However, Xiao Jingwen ignored Yu Huarong's attitude, quickly took out a letter, and nervously reported, Palace Master, this letter suddenly appeared out of thin air within the mountain gate when the mountain gate restriction was normally opened. This one dared not neglect it. Letter. What letter? Let me see. Yu Huarong frowned slightly, thought for a moment, then bent her fingers and gently grasped, taking the letter from afar. There was a restriction on the letter for sealing. The letter's seal also read, for Palace Master use personal attention, destroy immediately after reading. This seal was quite ingenious, but for a strong person of Yu Huarong's status, it was nothing. With a slight thought, Yu Huarong broke the restriction on the letter. Shwa! In an instant, the entire envelope suddenly burst into flames out of nowhere, then gradually turned into a wisp of green smoke, finally forming a line of text. And upon clearly seeing the words formed by this wisp of green smoke, Palace Master Yu Huarong, including all the Saint Refining Palace elders present, were instantly aghast. If you want to know the person behind the scenes, Feng Yen Mountain tonight at the hour of Cho. Chapter 19. The number one paragon of all time. Not worthy to carry his shoes. Chen Junlin naturally had no knowledge of what was happening on the Saint Refining Palace's side in the upper realm. Even if he did know, he wouldn't care. Anyway, when he decided to obliterate Ouyang Quanfeng, he was already prepared to anger the Saint Refining Palace of the upper realm. If the Saint Refining Palace knew what was good for them, then so be it. But if they insisted on being ignorant and reckless enough to come looking for trouble, then they couldn't blame him, this villain, for being ruthless and directly flattening the Saint Refining Palace, a Dao lineage that had been passed down for countless years. With a system providing a cheat, if I'm still constantly worried and live a low-key life like a dog, wouldn't I be laughed at and lose face for the entire transmigrator army? At this very moment, Chen Junlin felt the sacred spirit he had condensed and the incomparably powerful force contained within it. He couldn't help but exclaim in amazement in his heart. So strong! The sacred spirit realm compared to the Dao Palace realm is like heaven and earth. If it were the current me, even without using the conceptual divine power of King's Contempt, I'm afraid I would be more than capable of easily killing Ouyang Quanfeng. A saint spiritual realm cultivator, killing a peak-seeking realm cultivator. There are 3 major realms, Virtual Saint, Great Saint, and Saint King, as well as 9 minor realms in between. Such a significant difference in realms. If this were to spread out, I'm afraid it would be a laughingstock and no one would believe it to be true. Looking back across the long river of countless ages, since the records of the great wilderness world, no one has ever accomplished such a feat. The most heaven-defying achievement was when that chaos physique once fought against a peak ascendant realm expert for 100 breaths without defeat before successfully escaping. Because of that proud record, this chaos physique has been known as the strongest paragon of all time throughout countless years. However, effortlessly killing a peak ascendant realm expert versus withstanding a peak ascendant realm for 100 breaths without defeat are 2 completely different concepts and cannot be mentioned in the same breath. In other words, with Chen Junlin's current cultivation strength, he has already completely crushed the former so-called strongest paragon of all time. The reasons for all of this, in addition to him possessing the supreme great eternal sacred fire body and cultivating the heaven-defying technique Zhou Tian star chart, are also related to the boundless saint spirit he condensed the starfire divine phoenix. Under the empowerment of such a heaven-defying and terrifying foundation, he directly possessed an exaggerated combat power that ordinary people would never dream of. As expected, having cheats is the best. Chen Junlin sighed leisurely in his heart once again. For the entire 16 years after he transmigrated, even though he possessed the Supreme King bone from birth, and his starting point had already crushed countless cultivators of his generation, and he had even reached the Dao Palace realm at a young age, being hailed by countless people as the Chen family's paragon. But, compared to himself at this moment, he was simply obliterated, leaving not even dregs behind. Master. Congratulations, Master, on your boundless divine power and further increase in cultivation. Just as Chen Junlin was secretly marveling, the fanatical and respectful voice of the Wayadeo sect master entered his ears. Only to see. The Wayadeo sect master was kneeling on the ground, looking up at Chen Junlin with devout eyes, as if looking at a god. It was during Chen Junlin's breakthrough just now that his aura and pressure were so shocking that they directly destroyed the restriction formations he had previously arranged around the main hall. So that the magnificent scene of Chen Junlin's Starlight Divine Phoenix Holy Spirit manifestation was completely witnessed by servants such as the sect leader of the Boundless Tao sect. It is no exaggeration to say that it was a majestic phenomenon they had never imagined in their entire lives, like a frog in a well witnessing a kuanping above the highest heavens. Too shocking, too unbelievable. If they hadn't seen it with their own eyes just now, they would never have imagined it. Congratulations, Master. Your divine power is boundless and your cultivation has increased again. Congratulations, Master. Your divine power is boundless and your cultivation has increased again. Congratulations, Master. Your divine power is boundless and your cultivation has increased again. Upon seeing this, all the surrounding servants also reacted from their deep shock and they all cheered with incomparable fervor. At this moment, all beings revered him, Chen Junlin, as if they were revering a true god. Rise. Chen Junlin smiled faintly, then lightly raised his hand. All the servants around him felt an irresistible force, lifting them up. Such terrifying means undoubtedly shocked everyone present once again. Their fervent belief in Chen Junlin had reached a point of irrationality. Now, whatever Chen Junlin asked them to do, they would do at all costs. He Tian, the matter I instructed you on before, you will lead them to handle it next. Chen Junlin first looked at Tian, the sect leader of the Wayadeo sect beside him. This guy was considered relatively clever, and it was quite appropriate to entrust him with leading the search for the protagonist of destiny and fortune in the lower realm. Yes, Master. Your subordinate will do everything in my power. Tian replied with incomparable honor, his face full of excitement. Chen Junlin nodded. He paused slightly, then continued to speak. As for the matters of the holy refining palace in the upper realm, you don't need to worry too much. Currently, due to the influence of the boundary gate between the two realms, the cost for the upper realm to send strong individuals down is very high. In addition, the holy refining palace itself also needs strong individuals to guard it, so it is basically impossible for them to come out in full force. I estimate that at most there will be 2 or 3 experts, similar to Ouyang Quangfeng, who are at the questioning Dao realm. Therefore, even if you truly encounter pursuers sent by the Holy Refinement Palace from the upper realm, whether to conceal your identities or choose another option, everything must be resolved by yourselves. Consider this a test for you. If you can't even withstand this small disturbance, then you won't be qualified to work for me in the future. Chen Junlin's tone sounded calm, yet it revealed an unquestionable and irresistible majesty. Before the appearance of the aura buffs from God's grace, he might have considered how to help the Boundless Dao sect cope with the impending crisis. But now, with the blessing of tenfold combat power and tenfold cultivation efficiency, if this group of people couldn't even handle this small crisis, what qualifications would they have to investigate those protagonists with the mandate of heaven in the lower realm for him? Master, please rest assured, we will definitely not fail your expectations. He Tian took the lead and guaranteed. Although he didn't know what kind of supernatural power Chen Junlin had used to give them such a huge boost in combat power, if they still showed fear in the face of a longevity orthodox sect like the Holy Refining Palace, he himself would despise himself. So what if they are an upper realm longevity orthodox sect? So what if they are experts in the questioning realm? Their future goal was to follow the master, so how could they be timid? Very good. Chen Junlin nodded with satisfaction. If he Tian and the others could pass this test, then it would be worth cultivating them. After pondering for a moment, Chen Junlin couldn't help but look towards the upper realm. Before descending to the lower realm, it seems that a genius who awakened the Immortal King diagram just happened to appear in the Chen family's branch. TSK. I wonder what the Chen family's attitude is towards me now, this self-abandoning first holy son. Chapter 20, Deeply Concealing Merit and Fame. Returning to the upper realm, he raised his head, gazing at the firmament. Blue sky and white clouds, an exquisite sight. However, Chen Junlin was well aware that above this sky existed a layer of isolated space, forcibly forming the upper and lower realms into 2 separate worlds within the same heaven and earth. Countless ordinary cultivators in the lower realm, exhausting their entire lives, could not even glimpse the true sky. According to records in ancient books, in the more distant primordial era, the great wilderness world actually had no distinction between upper and lower realms, but was one unified world. It was only later that a world-destroying battle occurred, and the laws of heaven and earth became incomplete, to the point where they could no longer maintain the integrity of the great wilderness world's rules, and a separation had to be carried out. This ultimately led to the cultivation of strong individuals born in the lower realm being essentially capped at the divine fire realm, with the Dharma aspect realm as the limit, due to the incomplete state of the lower realm's laws of heaven and earth. Because normal cultivation paths cannot access the complete great wilderness realm's laws, it is almost impossible to forge a Dao palace. This is also why the immortal lineages of the upper realm mostly have no interest in developing the lower realm. A barren land with incomplete laws is destined to rarely produce geniuses. Rather than wasting more resources on nurturing them, it's better to use those resources on the upper realm's chosen talents. After all, the resources between heaven and earth are finite. As the saying goes, law, wealth, companion, land, the so-called wealth actually represents resources. The former Chen Junlin, as a direct descendant of the Chen family's 6th branch and born with supreme bones, was hailed as the Chen family's #1 holy son. In the immortal Chen family, he enjoyed boundless glory and benefited from the family's massive resource allocation. Logically speaking, as long as he didn't make mistakes, he would definitely have a bright future in the Chen family, becoming the sole imperial son, which is to say, the heir to the Chen family. It was almost a certainty. However, just because of an accidental experience in the lower realm, he met Su Yueyao. The former Chen Junlin seemed to be bewitched, completely abandoning the improvement of his cultivation. He even went so far as to give the massive resources bestowed by the family to Su Yueyao and the Su family, ultimately helping Yi Chen, the protagonist with the destiny of providence, to grow rapidly. Such an incomprehensible act, in the eyes of the eternal Chen family, was simply, utterly foolish. After repeated warnings and reminders proved ineffective, the protector at the questioning realm, who originally belonged to Chen Junlin, angrily returned to the upper realm alone. After some discussion, the Chen family resolutely cut off his cultivation resources. Although, on the surface, he was still the holy son of the eternal Chen family, in reality, he was probably only one clear decree away from being stripped of the name Holy Son. If the former Chen Junlin continued unrepentant, he would likely be completely abandoned by the Chen family, if not for awakening my true self. According to that idiot's previous thoughts, he probably would have really been stripped of his status as a holy son by the Chen family, and what's worse, that idiot knew this and didn't care at all, proclaiming himself to be deeply devoted, willing to give up everything for his beloved woman. Ugh. Just thinking about this, Chen Junlin felt a chill in his heart, and goosebumps rose all over his body. He shook his head. With a thought, Chen Junlin gently opened his hand and a crystal-clear jade talisman appeared in his palm. This was the boundary talisman that allowed passage through the fault line between the upper and lower realms. The so-called boundary talisman was actually the key to opening the teleportation boundary gate between the upper and lower realms. Under normal circumstances, it was only possible to cross between the upper and lower realms by using the boundary talisman. However, the boundary talisman was a one-time consumable item for traveling to and from the boundary gate, condensed by the boundary gate itself, and required a large amount of spirit stones or heavenly materials of equal value to obtain. Of course, if one's cultivation is heaven-defying enough, it is said that they can ignore the power of the rules of the inter-world fault and forcibly cross between the two realms. But such beings, within the great wilderness realm, are mythical and supreme figures almost unheard of. At the very least, a creation realm cultivator simply does not have this qualification. From what Chen Junlin knew, among the past ancestors of the Chen family of longevity, those with such heaven-reaching abilities seem to be only a handful. As for whether they exist in the current Chen family of longevity, Chen Junlin was not sure, estimating that 99% of them did not. He took a deep breath. Chen Junlin slowly urged his spiritual power, activating this realm token. A broken world like the lower realm is equivalent to a basement or sewer for cultivators from the upper realm, making them feel uncomfortable all over. Especially for those with higher cultivation levels, this unpleasant feeling is even more obvious. Anyway, Chen Junlin didn't want to stay any longer. Of course. Before leaving, Chen Junlin didn't forget one thing. Shua! A thought flickered through his mind, and with his terrifying divine sense, he instantly enveloped countless top powers in the lower realm. Immediately following, he directly and forcibly plundered the treasures from the vaults of these top powers. Regardless of the quality of the treasures within, he simply took them all from afar. Such heaven-defying methods could not be achieved with the cultivation of the Saint Spirit realm alone, but stemmed from the spatial teleportation ability of the Chaos Bell. The power of this innate treasure is far more than this. As his cultivation improves in the future, he will surely unlock even more terrifying power. In short, with Chen Junlin's act of looting the treasure troves of the major top powers, in an instant, the lower realm's major top powers were filled with screams, wails, and roars, descending into utter chaos. And the mastermind behind all this, Chen Junlin, simply grinned slightly, then activated the teleportation function of the realm talisman, suddenly disappearing into the void, concealing his merits and fame. The upper realm. A realm gate controlled by the Chun clan of longevity. Accompanied by a streak of light, Chen Junlin's figure suddenly appeared at the boundary gate, successfully returning to the upper realm. In the instant of returning to the upper realm, the boundary token in the palm of his hand, after completing its return function, transformed into a stream of light and darted into the void vortex behind him. The void vortex was the boundary gate, with no end in sight, containing terrifying power of the rules, enough to destroy the heavens and the earth and tear apart all things. Even with Chen Junlin's current cultivation realm, he didn't dare to be arrogant enough to touch it for the time being. You holy son Junlin, why are you back? Ah, greetings, holy son Junlin. Greetings, holy son Junlin. A group of Chen family members responsible for guarding the boundary gate were stunned for a moment when they saw Chen Junlin appear, seemingly not expecting Chen Junlin to return voluntarily. But they quickly reacted and began to salute and pay their respects. After all, Chen Junlin was still the holy son in name, so how could they dare to be disrespectful? Yes, I'm back. Chen Junlin nodded calmly, not paying attention to the reactions of these insignificant figures. There were quite a few boundary gates to the upper realm. To prevent evil cultivators from descending and wreaking havoc, the various boundary gates were generally jointly supervised by nearby everlasting lineages on a rotational basis. Chapter 21 I am a very reasonable person. With the foundation of an everlasting lineage, setting up a teleportation array at the boundary gate that directly returns to their base was naturally not a difficult task. Without much small talk, after a brief inquiry, Chen Junlin directly used the teleportation array set up by the Chen family to teleport back to the ancestral land of the everlasting Chen family Cloudtop Grotto Heaven. Cloudtop Grotto Heaven was a small world isolated from the outside world. Without the Chen family's bloodline, one simply wouldn't be qualified to set foot within. Along with a burst of spatial fluctuations, Chen Junlin slightly raised his eyes. What came into view were continuous small mountains, each peak like a dazzling spiritual diamond, emitting a piercing brilliance under the sunlight, illuminating the entire sky, as if silently proclaiming the transcendence and sacredness unique to the eternal Tao lineage. Among the various peaks, clouds and mist swirled, and the rosy light flickered, filled with a rich spiritual energy of heaven and earth that far surpassed the outside world, like a fairyland on earth. Looking at the Cloudtop Grotto Heaven's small world before him, familiar memories of the past surged like a tide. Although he is now dominated by his awakened true self-consciousness, his 16 years of experience in the Chen family and this Xuanhuan world were also truly experienced. This couldn't help but give him a peculiar sense of belonging. He shook his head. There was no time to think too much about it. The next second, A Chen family expert responsible for guarding the entrance to the cloud-top grotto Heaven's small world had already appeared in front of Chen Junlin. Junlin, haha, my good nephew, you've finally seen the light. You're willing to come back. I knew it. My good nephew, how could he be manipulated by a woman from the lower realms? Before Chen Junlin could even speak, a hearty and forthright voice entered his ears. Immediately following, a burly, square-faced middle-aged man took a few steps forward, smiling as he patted Chen Junlin on the shoulder, displaying an incredibly affectionate demeanor. Junlin greets fifth uncle. Chen Junlin smiled slightly, cupping his fist in salute. The current head of the Chen family is named Chen Xianqing, who is also Chen Junlin's paternal grandfather. Chen Xianqing had 6 sons and 1 daughter in total, namely the eldest Chen Xinglong, the second Chen Xinghu, the third Chen Xingbao, the fourth Chen Xingyue, the fifth Chen Xing'a, the sixth Chen Xingfeng, and the seventh Chen Xingshan. The middle-aged man before him was none other than his fifth uncle, Chen Xingha, who was currently in charge of the fifth branch of the Chen family. Within the Chen family, he was specifically responsible for guarding the entrance of the cloud-top grotto Heaven, reviewing personnel, and handling internal conflicts and disputes within the Chen clan, wielding considerable power. Among Chen Junlin's elders, fifth uncle Chen Xingha was one of the best to him. Because his good-for-nothing father was often busy outside, Chen Xingha had essentially taken care of him since he was a child. Therefore, Chen Junlin held this fifth uncle in high regard. Greetings, holy son Junlin. Greetings, holy son Junlin. Behind Chen Xingha, a group of Chen family guards also cupped their hands in salute. The Chen family guards were mostly from the Chen family's branches and collateral lines. Even if Chen Junlin were not a holy son, his status would be far beyond their reach. Therefore, even if they looked down on this holy son who had lost his mind over a woman, they dared not show the slightest disrespect on the surface. Chen Junlin naturally wouldn't care about what these guards were thinking, just like you wouldn't care about the thoughts of a group of ants on the ground. Junlin, to be honest, it's not that your fifth uncle is deliberately saying unpleasant things. It's just that this time, you've really gone too far. Just for a mere woman from the lower realm, look at the mess you've made. You've even angered the Tao protector arranged for you to the point of running away. Even I have to politely call her Aunt 13. Therefore, many people within the Chen family now have strong opinions about you, believing that you are no longer qualified to enjoy the Chen family's key cultivation treatment. Fortunately, you woke up in time, otherwise, in the family council a few days later, you would definitely have been stripped of your holy son status. Without the identity of the holy son, the resources you, including your father's branch, will enjoy in the Chen family in the future will be greatly reduced. In short, when you get back later and see your grandfather and the others, no matter how much they scold and berate you, don't interrupt. Just apologize sincerely and admit your mistake. Leave everything else to your fifth uncle. Don't worry, I'm here. As long as your attitude of admitting your mistake is good enough, and with fifth uncle putting in a good word for you, this will all pass. There won't be any major punishment. As he spoke, Chen Xingha's tone was slightly more serious and his brow was slightly furrowed, but he kept patting Chen Junlin's shoulder to comfort him. Clearly, the mistake Chen Junlin had made this time was not a small one, and it was impossible for it to be as easy as Chen Xingha had described. In order to secure the lightest punishment for Chen Junlin, Chen Xingha would inevitably face a lot of pressure. After all, although he had considerable power in the Chen family, he was not the only one who made the decisions. Besides the lineage of the current family head, Chen Xianqing, there are also Chen Xuanqing's siblings, as well as the old ancestors and elders above them, and they are not so easy to talk to. The position of the Chen family's holy son is something that every lineage is extremely eager to obtain. In the past, Chen Junlin's talent was extremely good, and he belonged to the current family head's lineage, so naturally no one dared to have any crooked ideas. But now it's different. Given the mistakes Chen Junlin has made, how could others possibly ignore this great opportunity to bring down Chen Junlin? What's more, in the current Chen family, there is now a peerless genius like Chen Haotian, whose talent is only higher and not lower. Even if the Chen family ultimately decides to only give a small punishment this time and not strip Chen Junlin of his position as holy son, from now on, he will no longer receive the unique treatment he once had from the Chen family. Chen Junlin is actually very clear about these things in his heart. However, he doesn't care at all. Identity, status, mistakes, punishment. It's all just a joke. In the end, isn't it all about whose fist is stronger? If he possessed absolutely sufficient strength, he would like to see which ignorant fellow in the Chen family would dare to say a single bad word about him. Chen Junlin. Who would dare to threaten to punish him? Chen Junlin. Regardless of whether you're the seventh uncle or eighth aunt of the Chen family, he, Chen Junlin, would beat you all the same. Who dares to disagree? Then we'll fight until they submit. Thinking of this, Chen Junlin nodded and replied with a smile, "Don't worry, fifth uncle, I understand everything. You know best. From childhood to adulthood, I've always been a very reasonable person. Well, reasonable in a physical sense." Chen Xinghe obviously didn't know the intention behind Chen Junlin's words and simply nodded in response. That's right, you kid. Although your personality has always been a bit of a playboy, you've generally been quite well behaved and obedient. Let's go. Go and apologize to everyone properly. It's not a big deal, really. Chapter 22, The Chen Clan's Powerful Expert Questions. Chen Junlin, do you know your crime? Led by fifth uncle Chen Xinghe and under the complicated gazes of countless Chen clan disciples along the way, after passing through numerous small paths paved with white jade stones, the Chen family's council hall finally appeared before them. Chen Junlin didn't think too much. His expression remained calm and unafraid as he directly followed fifth uncle across the vermilion threshold and stepped into the council hall. At this very moment, at the very top of the main hall, Chen Xianqing, the current head of the Chen family and Chen Junlin's paternal grandfather, sat there expressionlessly, not uttering a word. On both sides of the main hall stood over 100 figures. They were all important figures within the Chen family, possessing considerable status within the Eternal Life Chen clan. Obviously, the Chen family's higher-ups were already fully aware of the news of Chen Junlin, this prodigal saint's son, returning, and they had been waiting here for some time. Chen Junlin, do you know your crime? Buzz. It was at the very instant when Chen Junlin stepped into the main hall before he could even overthink it. Accompanied by an incomparably vast and powerful divine might, Chen Xinghu, his second uncle's thick and forceful voice, exploded like a powder keg ignited in the entire hall. Immediately following, before Chen Junlin could even respond, another Chen family expert impatiently interjected with a sneer. Ha. For the sake of a lowly female cultivator from the lower realms, you personally ruined the marriage alliance with the holy maiden of the heavenly sound sect, causing our Chen family to lose an ally and support. Furthermore, you even relied on a special privilege granted to you by the clan to take out 3 drops of innate Dao rhyme from the family treasury without authorization and gifted them to that lowly female cultivator. Do you know that the innate Dao rhyme possesses the ability to defy fate and undergo a complete transformation? It was collected by the family over countless years, and the entire Chen family only possesses 3 drops. It would be one thing if you used it on yourself, but you just had to. Absolutely foolish. Stupid. So stupid. 13th aunt cherished him so much, willing to protect him, a junior, on his cultivation path, yet he actually angered her to the point of running away. Like this Chen Junlin, you actually still have the face to come back. Alas, nephew Junlin, your actions truly chill us to the bone. What's the point of talking nonsense? In my opinion, let's just severely punish him according to the family rules. I saw it long ago. This kid has a playboy personality and is incapable of handling important matters. You all didn't believe me. Nephew Hao Tian is calm, collected, sensible, and courteous, far superior to that Chen Junlin, isn't. At this moment, inside the Chen family's council hall, various sneers, taunts, and reprimands rose and fell. Chen Junlin's gaze swept across the room, and he noticed that most of the Chen family's old ancestors were just looking at him with disappointment, shaking their heads and sighing without saying a word. On the contrary, the Chen family powerhouses who spoke were basically those who usually had close ties with his uncle Chen Xinglong's lineage. These people had never been particularly respectful or friendly to him, this holy son, even before. Such a situation was quite normal. Wherever there are people, there are conflicts of interest. Even within an immortal cultivation lineage, this situation is unavoidable. Among the previous generation, the most outstanding talent had always been Chen Junlin's father, Chen Xingfeng, who was the greatest rival of his uncle, Chen Xinglong. Overall, in terms of various strengths, Chen Xingfeng was somewhat more powerful, but Chen Xinglong, as the eldest son of the direct line, was favored by certain stubborn elders. According to family rules, the most outstanding person of the same generation should be the candidate for the family head, but if the overall strengths are similar, then the eldest son of the direct line takes precedence. If it weren't for an accidental injury that caused Chen Xingfeng's cultivation to regress instead of advance, Chen Xingfeng of the 6th branch would probably have obtained the right to inherit the position of family head. As expected, the Chen family that followed would be led by the lineage of his uncle, Chen Xinglong, guiding the Chen family to continue its development. Unexpectedly, although Chen Xingfeng failed in the previous generation's competition, he unexpectedly fathered Chen Junlin, a peerless prodigy with a heavenly supreme bone. This directly and inexplicably elevated Chen Xingfeng's status and position in the Chen family, which should have been lowered, and he also took away a large amount of the family's resources. The resources of a family are ultimately limited. Because of Chen Junlin, Chen Xingfeng's lineage, which was otherwise of average strength, obtained more cultivation resources. Then the resources obtained by other members of the Chen family would be reduced. As a result, the members of Chen Xinglong's lineage naturally felt dissatisfied. However, because Chen Junlin's momentum was strong and no one in his generation could compare with him, Chen Xinglong's lineage couldn't openly say anything. But now, having encountered this rare opportunity to suppress the 6th branch, how could the members of Chen Xinglong's lineage give up so easily? As for those Chen family relatives who sided with eldest uncle Chen Xinglong, they naturally wanted to take this opportunity to show their stance, hoping to indirectly obtain resource advantages from Chen Xinglong later on. Indeed, no matter where you go, there will always be such struggles for personal gain. Chen Junlin sighed inwardly. Logically speaking, they all belong to the same family, with the same bloodline, and should help each other. But sometimes, once vital interests are involved, it is these relatives who stab you in the back even more ruthlessly. Even the eternal longevity families that have been passed down for countless years cannot completely avoid this situation. Cough cough cough, second brother, calm down. We are all family, why get so angry? Just at this moment, fifth uncle Chen Xing has said with a smile, while also releasing a wisp of his aura to block Chen Xinghu's pressure for Chen Junlin. He then cupped his hands towards the Chen family's higher-ups in the main hall, saying, "Nephew Junlin has already reflected and realized his mistakes in time. I implore the elders of the clan to give him another chance." A chance. A strange, sarcastic voice immediately echoed from the side. Third uncle Chen Xingbao slammed the table and rose to his feet in great anger. "Do you know how much face this idiot has cost the clan in front of the Heavenly Sound sect? How much benefit has the family lost? Can it really be glossed over with just this simple phrase of reflection and self-awareness?" Second uncle Chen Xinghu then added in a deep voice, "That's right. The family spared no expense, investing so many cultivation resources in various natural treasures, but this boy didn't cherish them. Instead, he wasted his talent for no reason. Chen Junlin, do you know that you are squandering the gifts of heaven? If they were given to other geniuses in the family, how many elite successors could we cultivate? Chen Junlin, ask yourself this. Are you worthy of all that the family has spent on you over the years?" With a loud boom, the reprimanding words of Chen Xinghu, the second uncle, had not completely landed. Suddenly, starlight and sparks flickered on Chen Junlin's body, and a heaven-shaking, earth-shattering aura burst out, like an ancient dragon soaring straight into the sky. Swish! In that instant, within the Chen clan's council hall, all the Chen clan powerhouses were shocked, and a chorus of exclamations arose, as if they had encountered the most incredible and shocking scene of their lives. How is this possible? Chapter 23. He actually broke through to the Saint Spirit realm in the lower realm. This is clearly the aura fluctuation of the Saint Spirit realm. During this time in the lower realm, Chen Junlin actually broke through to the Saint Spirit realm. Too unbelievable, right? This is impossible. Wasn't he focused on that woman from the lower realm, sending all kinds of cultivation resources to her, and not caring about his own cultivation at all? Otherwise, Ant 13 wouldn't have left in anger. What exactly is going on? What about him wasting the family's cultivation resources? At this moment, the Chen family's powerhouses present were all in an uproar. They simply couldn't believe it, but no matter how they investigated, the aura emanating from Chen Junlin at this moment was indeed at the Saint Spirit realm. Most importantly, Chen Junlin's cultivation realm wasn't just a recent breakthrough to the Saint Spirit realm, but rather the second level of the Saint Spirit realm. Almost everyone in the hall was an elite powerhouse of the Chen family, and they could discern this at a glance. Just now, the Saint Spirit realm aura that Chen Junlin suddenly released was precisely what he inadvertently produced when he happened to break through to the second level of the Saint Spirit realm. What does this mean? Chen Junlin had probably already broken through to the Saint Spirit realm in the lower realm and had accumulated his foundation to the limit of the first level of the Saint Spirit realm. But the problem is, half a year ago, before Chen Junlin's protector left, Chen Junlin's cultivation was only at the Dao Palace realm. Half a year's time, his cultivation has progressed so unbelievably. Moreover, it was in the lower realm, a place with such scarce spiritual energy and incomplete laws of heaven and earth. This is simply an Arabian Nights tale. In short, at this moment, the entire audience was shocked. No one had expected that Chen Junlin, having stayed in the lower realm, could actually break through to the Holy Spirit realm. Even Chen Xinghu, Chen Junlin's second uncle, who had always been at odds with him, swallowed his words at this moment, stunned and unsure of what to do. A waste of resources. In just over half a year, he went from the Dao Palace realm to the second heaven of the Holy Spirit realm, and in a place like the lower realm you call that a waste of resources? It makes no sense at all. Chen Xinghu knew very well that the moment Chen Junlin revealed his cultivation realm, he had already been severely slapped in the face and had no reason to continue targeting Chen Junlin with this excuse. Humph. In the end, the frustrated Chen Xinghu could only coldly snort, turn his head away, and say nothing more. For a time, the entire Chen family's council hall quieted down, and no one spoke again. The jeering and sarcastic voices directed at Chen Junlin earlier vanished in the blink of an eye, as if nothing had happened at all. This is the naked reality, where strength is the only language that matters. Chen Junlin, who broke through to the Saint Spirit realm in the lower realm, a Saint Spirit realm cultivator at only 16 years old, could be called a peerless monster, even among the countless geniuses of the entire upper realm. Which eternal lineage would be foolish enough to strip him of his position as Holy Son? This interruption completely disrupted the rhythm of Chen Xinglong's faction, who had been preparing to severely suppress and target Chen Junlin, leaving them somewhat at a loss. After all, given Chen Junlin's current cultivation realm, even if his previous mistakes were significant, the punishment would likely be minor and it wouldn't warrant stripping him of his Holy Sun position. This undoubtedly left Chen Xinglong's faction feeling extremely frustrated. However, Chen Xinghe, the fifth uncle who stood next to Chen Junlin and had originally prepared a bunch of words to intercede for Chen Junlin, was shocked for a moment, then immediately burst into laughter and patted Chen Junlin's shoulder hard. Ha ha ha. Good lad, you're really something. You brat kept it from your fifth uncle. You didn't even tell me that you had broken through to the Saint Spirit realm, which made me worry for a while. At this moment, the smile on Chen Xinghe's face was heartfelt and extremely bright, and he secretly breathed a sigh of relief in his heart. To be honest, he was indeed quite worried at first that the family would strip Chen Junlin of his position as Holy Son. But now, who would dare to say such a thing? I just got back and I haven't had the chance yet. Chen Junlin said with a somewhat helpless wry smile. He guaranteed that the burst of Saint Spirit realm aura just now was not him deliberately trying to slap Chen Xinghe in the face. It was just that the Zhou Tian Xing Chen technique he cultivated had been continuously absorbing the power of the stars for automatic cultivation, constantly filling his star sea, so that he happened to break through just now. Even Chen Junlin didn't expect that the effect of the Zhou Tian Xing Chen technique would be so outrageous. It was clear that he had only advanced to the Saint Spirit realm for less than half a day, and now he's already at the second level of the Saint Spirit realm. Cultivation is even simpler than drinking water. You deliberately stalled your cultivation bottleneck and had to break through in front of the clan elders. Are you deliberately showing off? Don't you know? Nephew Haotian is also 16 years old, awakened the Immortal King diagram, and has also set foot in the Saint Spirit realm. But he didn't consume as many family resources as you. You, Chen Junlin, consumed so many precious family medicines to break through to the Saint Spirit realm. That's only reasonable. What is there to praise? In my opinion, although Chen Junlin has acceptable talent, he should still temper his temperament. Otherwise, all the painstaking nurturing the family provides will be for naught. If, next time, he is once again bewitched by some demonic woman, wouldn't that bring disaster upon my Changxingchen family? Suddenly, a strange and sarcastic voice came from the crowd, its words sharp and highly targeted. Chen Junlin's gaze turned cold. He scanned in the direction of the voice and saw that the speaker was a middle-aged woman with a somewhat shrewish appearance. It was Chen Xingyue, the fourth daughter of the Chen family's current patriarch and Chen Junlin's aunt in name. However, this aunt of his held a deep grudge against his father because, back then, her beloved man was discovered to be a disciple of the demonic path and his father, Chen Xingfeng, had personally killed him. Therefore, she had always harbored resentment. And so, she was now taking advantage of the demonic path as an excuse to throw mud at Chen Junlin. In this way, regardless of whether Chen Junlin will truly be bewitched by a demonic enchantress in the future due to the precedent of Suyue, the family will likely have concerns and will no longer be able to provide Chen Junlin with resources as unscrupulously as before. Sigh. Chen Xingfeng, the father who had remained silent from beginning to end, finally couldn't help but let out a sigh at this moment. As Chen Junlin's father, he couldn't easily participate in the current situation and could only choose to remain silent. However, the thought that his past actions had caused the originally close siblings to become like enemies, and even Chen Junlin, who was now at a critical moment, was being deliberately targeted by Chen Xingyue, filled his heart with a deep sense of guilt. Could it be that he was wrong to prevent his fourth sister from becoming completely immersed back then? At this moment, Chen Xingfeng couldn't help but doubt himself. Fourth sister, aren't you going too far with your words? The grudges between you and sixth brother are matters of the previous generation. How can you involve Chen Junlin? Fifth uncle Chen Xinghe frowned deeply and immediately retorted sharply. Chapter 24. I am the Chen family's only emperor's son. Who has any objections? How am I being excessive? Ask yourself, or at least ask the uncles present for their opinion. Am I not stating the truth? Chen Xingyue sneered, not afraid of offending Chen Xinghe at all. The resentment accumulated in her heart was almost forming a heart demon. She had finally seized an opportunity to strike a painful blow these past years, so how could she let it go? In the past, she had taken into account Chen Junlin's importance to the Chen family. For the sake of the bigger picture, she had forcibly endured it. But now, the Chen family had an even more monstrous Chen Haotian, and Chen Junlin had previously performed disappointingly. So, what was wrong with her venting her hatred? Moreover, in her opinion, it might be a good thing to let Chen Junlin realize the consequences of his mistakes as soon as possible and temper his temperament. You, Chen Xingyue, to think you are Junlin's aunt. How could you say such a thing? Chen Xinghe glared, looking as if he was about to attack. Enough! Seeing that the scene was gradually getting out of control, Chen Xianqing, the family head who had been sitting at the top, finally spoke. This contemporary family head of the Chen family, who controlled the Changsheng lineage, slowly turned his gaze to Chen Junlin, his face as calm as an ancient well, showing no emotional fluctuations, yet his eyes carried an unshakable majesty. His voice exploded like thunder, instantly restoring silence to the originally noisy council hall. Even Chen Xingyue had to quickly shut her mouth. Obviously, in front of this family head and father, even she dared not be too presumptuous. Junlin, your breakthrough to the Saint Spirit realm is truly a joyous and congratulatory event for our Chen family. Your grandfather should reward you. However, the mistakes you made before were really too excessive. As the head of the Chen family, if I were to favor you, it would be difficult to convince the others. You should understand that in your heart, right? Hearing this, Chen Junlin's expression remained calm and unchanged. He nodded indifferently and replied, Junlin understands. I will abide by whatever Grandpa decides. Your temperament has indeed become much more steady and mature. It seems that Junlin was able to break through to the Saint Spirit realm because he encountered some extraordinary opportunities in the lower realm. Seeing Chen Junlin's reaction, the head of the family, Chen Xianqing, became somewhat certain in his heart. As a fortune realm powerhouse who controlled an immortal lineage, a monstrous talent once admired by countless people of his generation, his mind and schemes were naturally extraordinary. Chen Junlin was able to break through to the Saint Spirit realm in a place like the lower realm, where the laws of heaven and earth were incomplete. It would have been difficult to achieve this solely with the cultivation resources bestowed by the family, so it was highly likely that he encountered some great opportunity in the lower realm. From the moment Chen Junlin returned to the Chen family, he had consistently maintained a calm demeanor. Whether facing the doubts of the Chen family's experts, Chen Xinghu's angry rebukes, or even Chen Xingyue's deliberate targeting and harassment, he had never seen the slightest emotional fluctuation on Chen Junlin's face. This improvement in temperament alone was something Chen Junlin clearly did not possess before, indicating that he must have experienced some storms that ordinary people could not even touch. He did not know what exactly happened between Chen Junlin and that woman in the lower realm that had caused Chen Junlin to become so mature. However, one thing he was sure of was that he was very satisfied with Chen Junlin's current composure. He could clearly sense that Chen Junlin, standing in this council hall today, simply did not care about the punishment. This was very good. Only by being fearless of all storms, remaining steadfast regardless of wind or rain, could one truly be qualified to compete for the position of power holder of the Changxing Chen family, the Chen family's holy son. The former Chen Junlin, although extraordinarily gifted and far surpassed his peers in the clan, was too much of a playboy in character, making him difficult to entrust with great responsibilities. Especially everything Chen Junlin had done for Su Yueyao had greatly disappointed him, to the point where he almost couldn't restrain himself from directly crippling him. Fortunately, Chen Haotian, who unexpectedly awakened the Immortal King diagram during his coming-of-age ceremony at 16, appeared later. This greatly improved his mood. He had thought that Chen Junlin was completely ruined and he was prepared to give up on nurturing him. But he never expected that today Chen Junlin would bring him such a big and surprising change. At this moment, on Chen Junlin's body he seemed to see the aura of a true, born king. This was the second one he had encountered among the younger generation of the Chen clan, besides Chen Haotian, who had awakened the Immortal King diagram earlier. Two supreme talents in one family. The future of the Chen family revival is promising. Unbeknownst to anyone, in the space of these few simple sentences, a huge storm had already been brewing within Chen Xuanqing's heart. In fact, in his heart, the matter of what Chen Junlin had done was already insignificant. If he wasn't considering the thoughts of the Chen family members, he would have even considered speaking up and not pursuing this matter any further. Two 16-year-old Saint Spirit realm prodigies. What a fortunate thing this was. Once nurtured, how prosperous would the Chen family be in the future? He really didn't know what the point was of these fools in the council hall still arguing about how to punish Chen Junlin. Damn it, did depriving Chen Junlin of his position as holy son mean they would just watch such peerless prodigies go uncultivated? Wouldn't that just be laughed at by the old geezers of the opposing forces? In reality, Chen Junlin's obvious improvement in temperament and realm was all thanks to this foolish act of descending to the lower realm, wasn't it? A thought crossed his mind, and Chen Xianqing couldn't help but sigh. He hadn't expected that among all his sons, none of them had caught his eye. None possessed a true sense of the bigger picture, only scheming and plotting for petty power all day long. Perhaps Chen Qingfeng, before his injury, was considered passable, but later, due to damage to his cultivation foundation, he gradually lost that drive. So tiring. Chen Xianqing sighed inwardly once more. He paused for a moment. Chen Xianqing turned his gaze towards Chen Qingfeng, who was not far away, and asked with a straight face, Qingfeng, what do you think should be done about Junlin's matter? Chen Qingfeng was stunned for a moment. He clearly hadn't expected that his father, Chen Xianqing, would throw this question at him. Immediately afterward, he looked at his own son with a complicated expression. He had thought that in the face of such major issues of right and wrong, he would be able to make a decisive choice and handle things without any selfishness, including his previous claims that Chen Junlin was unworthy of being the Chen family's holy son. But at this moment he suddenly realized that as a father he simply couldn't be completely selfless. Right now he only wanted to protect Chen Junlin without any reason, not allowing his own son to be bullied. Why should he? A 16-year-old prodigy at the Saint Spirit realm was originally the supreme glory of the family, yet he had to suffer such a plight. He clenched his fists fiercely and took a deep breath. Chen Qingfeng suddenly raised his head, a firm look revealed in his eyes, and was about to stand righteously in front of Chen Junlin, saying to everyone present, "My son is not wrong." But the next second, a crimson phantom, as if carrying a vast starry sky scroll, burst forth with supreme divine might, suddenly appearing in the entire Chen family's council hall. But to see, it was Chen Junlin who released his own limitless Saint Spirit, Starfire Divine Phoenix, calmly surveying the Chen family powerhouses present, and calmly said, "Therefore, I, Chen Junlin, am today the Chen family's only emperor son. Do you have any objections?"